Only 3 people in the country were allowed to touch the real R2-D2, and he was one of them. The studios trusted him with secrets worth millions of dollars. On the set of MythBusters, he made the impossible possible. But behind the cameras, a fatal development was brewing in his mind. During dinner with his fiancée in July 2020, he suddenly felt lightheaded. Before long, doctors struggled to keep him alive. 3 surgeries later, his loved ones were faced with a nightmarish decision. This is what really happened. Grant Imahara was born on October 23, 1970, in Los Angeles. His mother, Carolyn, brought him up alone during hard times. Carolyn worked 12 hours a day at an accounting firm and pursued a degree in business simultaneously in the evening. Even when she got offered a better job in San Francisco, she declined. Los Angeles has better schools for Grant, she told her employers. The 2 of them occupied a small 2-bedroom apartment. Carolyn converted their dining room into a study area, taking 3 hours a night to teach him. Instead of buying him playthings, she bought him science kits. It was one such kit from Radio Shack that set the entire thing rolling. Grant, barely 5, began taking things apart. In one single year, he disassembled 38 appliances. The boy didn't keep a record. It all remained in his head. This obsessed boy once tore apart the microwave his family purchased. It had a flaw, which he discovered. Tell the company, his mother instructed. The manufacturer pulled back 1,200 units from the market. This is how inquisitive he was even in kindergarten. There were dangers, though. At 6, he seriously electrocuted himself playing with a radio. His heart stopped working. Never bothering to tell his mother, he didn't want his tool set confiscated. It all came crashing down on May 28, 1977. Grant Imahara saw Star Wars on screen. The boy was 7. For 2 hours, he didn't budge an inch. For 2 weeks, he spoke only in robot sounds. This meant he stopped speaking English for weeks together. For 17 consecutive days, he skipped classes that summer, making his own R2-D2 from garbage he rummaged from dumpsters. By August, he had assembled over 600 pieces, complete with drawings on paper. This is when he barely slept, reading educational user guides with a flashlight under a blanket. This is how he rewired his high school's PA system to play the Star Wars theme when a class changed room. It worked even better than the previous system. Despite that, he got suspended. After Grant entered high school at Crestview Prep in 1984, things only accelerated. It started with a full scholarship. Then, he called a physics teacher's explanation incorrect in front of a class when he was 14. By his second year, he ceased attending his school's science fairs because a judge thought his projects lacked realism. The following year, he created a robot named Murphy when he was 16. This robot worked with components from game consoles and a Commodore 64 computer he borrowed. It even traversed the entire school on its own. This happened when robots, such as his, weren't even common in movies. This happened because he suffered from 2nd and 3rd degree burns on his hands from plumbing solder on Murphy. Additionally, he started developing carpal tunnel syndrome at 16. Every day, for close to 90 minutes, he hid in a science closet designing his robots rather than attending PE. This happened because one teacher knew, but chose not to say a thing. By the end of his education, he managed to complete 13 functioning robots. Most of his high school peers still had not passed geometry. Yet, realizing that he attended USC in the late 80s, he originally set his educational goals on becoming an engineer. In 1992, he suddenly realized that he overloaded on his courses. This happened because he started feeling extremely burnt out, even believing that he might switch his major to screenwriting. This happened because he liked storytelling, particularly from cinematic perspectives. This happened because, by 1992, he seriously considered changing his degree from engineering to screenwriting. In the university, he visited the film department to check his plans on changing his current degree. They told him that his plans would not go unnoticed, but he still had to complete his degree. This happened because he really hoped that all his sweat equity he originally invested on his degree wasn't going to go to waste. It happened because he met a man named Tomlinson Holman, who originally created the famous T-Check sound systems used in most cinemas. At this point, he really admired the creator of the sound systems. So, in this instance, he made a bold move on his own initiative. This is because he offered the said creator his assistance for free. This happened because he originally offered him his services in exchange for cleaning the said creator's cluttered john, full of professional papers from professional organizations that belong to SMPT, a recognized group in the sound industry, and which probably also meant sound specialists. This happened because cleaning said office wasn't exactly a dream job of his. This is because within his first year volunteering, he regained his spark. It happened because, with his job with Holman, he gained a perspective on how he can use his engineering skills for different purposes. This happened because, throughout his entire job with the said creator, his life changed for the better. Grant started his career with T-Checks as a licensing engineer. Here, he tested loudspeakers and audio equipment to ensure that they satisfied a precise set of standards for T-Check certification. Nothing escaped his attention. How it reacted under stress, how it reacted at different frequencies, how consistent the sound was, he explains. That's what his world is like. But he didn't spend his entire life in a research setting. Now and then, he donned a C-3PO suit for publicity stints. Then he worked with Lucasfilm, helping with Star Wars merchandising, which he accepted. It seemed small, but it marked his eventual trajectory into entertainment and beyond. Then, from 1993 to 1996, Grant worked on ensuring a standard sound quality from T-Check sound systems within cinemas. He set up equipment tests on speaker arrays, devised a way to maintain a consistent T-Check's audio environment within every screen, and tested audio equipment from different producers to make sure that it met rigorous standards. Hundreds of screens worldwide, along with several consumer products, sported the T-Check's logo because of his quality control process. The journey to his employment at Industrial Light and Magic for Grant Imahara didn't occur in a straight line. Here, he started with the Lucasfilm THX Group after his degree in electrical engineering from USC in 1993. In his initial posting at THX, he developed a way to subject audio equipment to stress tests following THX standards. That, though, marked his end goal. In 1996, he made a bold move, joining the ILM model shop. This marked a complete turnabout. This employment, though, came with no intention of merely working with models. Grant Imahara brought with him a mind trained in electronics, systems, and circuits. And what he brought impressed ILM enough. Though most other people working in models come from a more art-oriented mechanical background, he states, "Engineering is my background," he explains, impressive enough for ILM. For nearly a decade, he worked on titles that included Star Wars, Episodes 1, 2, and 3, The Matrix sequels, Jurassic World, 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 Jurassic World. Jurassic World, 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 Jurassic World. At that point, Grant was merely a talented engineer who worked behind the scenes with the Lucasfilm Archives team. That would change very soon. It was his knowledge of electronics that initially impressed them. Before he knew it, he had been invited to work on upgrading the old R2-D2 models that hung in the Lucasfilm archives. That one assignment led to a life-altering event. That's when he got invited to join a very exclusive club. Grant became one of only 3 people in the entire USA with official rights to operate R2-D2 at a commercial setting and a live event. This included Don Bees and Nelson Hall. The 3 of them were collectively known as the folks that everyone called when R2-D2 didn't work, even when the likes of Star Wars Episode 1 were involved. Whenever problems arose in London, where they were filming, he, along with his friend Nelson Hall, received a call from the producer themselves, Rick McClum, from Lucasfilm. This instance involved racking their brains to ensure that a brand new high-quality R2-D2, straight from the mind of ILM, who didn't want the likes of common technicians, but themselves to design from scratch, with Grant right in the middle of it all. In 1999, Phantom Menace slipped into full production with Grant taking on a complete overhaul of R2-D2. The previous R2-D2 units were always breaking down. They would stall on tracks, overheat, or stop in the middle of a scene. Grant's fixes were clever, but what he did is easy to see now in hindsight. The small wheels on R2-D2 had been exchanged with bigger wheels, which would be better on set flooring. This quickly led him to add a small electric wheelchair's motor for a speed boost. In addition, he rewired the entire power system, which controlled R2-D2's radio commands. This paid off as R2-D2 became reliable, with fewer problems and easy-to-command controls. The biggest upgrade that Grant implemented came with Attack of the Clones when he worked on enhancing all existing R2-D2 units, a total of 12 of them. The lights on the head part of R2-D2, known as the logic lights, were a quick modification that he replaced with his own homemade LED lights that he had set to specifically work on a microcontroller that he'd actually created earlier to operate on another film, Galaxy Quest. Reusing his own work, he knew that he would make some more magic with that magic. It wasn't easy working on the set. The hardest part came with filming from the Naboo set within Phantom Menace. The floors were irregular. The set design was fancy, but R2 was not designed to cope with such surroundings. The droids had trouble with rough flooring even back in the original trilogy. The salt used to make fake snow sometimes clogged the drive belts. This is where Grant's role became even more vital. For Episode 2, McCallum stated that every R2 unit had to be completely rebuilt from scratch. Grant headed the charge for the electronics. Nelson Hall handled paint job and appearance, even restoring R2's blue markings. Grant worked behind the scenes, but he was far from invisible. Attacking Clones began filming in Sydney, and McCallum handed Grant even more duties. In this way, he worked R2 on location, as well as directed Anthony Daniels, the man inside the C-3PO costume. This is how serious they were about his skills. In his life outside the factory, Grant worked on his own projects, continuing with what he loved. In 2000, he met with other ILM colleagues, such as Adam Savage and Fawn Davis, to add R2-D2 copies to their list of projects. Even though they worked on the real R2, they never replicated official models. This is how dedicated they were to their work. Every single piece of R2's design, even on a copy, had to be made entirely from scratch as a tribute to the franchise. This is what living with integrity means. Grant's contributions don't stop even after his stint with Star Wars. In Episode 2, Grant worked on developing quick-change battery packs for R2 itself. This is what solved a huge problem. R2's batteries weighed a lot, charged slowly, and worked unreliably. Now, R2 could remain on location for longer periods with reduced downtime thanks to the quick-change packs. This is what a dream solution is all about. This is far from a conclusion to Grant's relationship with R2. In his own life, Grant managed a complete copy of R2, complete with a strange design choice inside the dome. This includes bubbly epoxy, a gooey look that still managed to look authentic. Every single detail, no matter how small, mattered to him. Grant wasn't your average engineer hidden behind a scene. Only 3 people in existence have been recognized as an R2 technician, a direct commendation from Lucasfilm. Whenever there's a problem, producers call him by his name. In Episode 2, he managed the entire electronics upgrade on his own, while his partner worked on R2's cosmetic fix. This included fixing the correct blue color that someone had messed up in Episode 1. Every element mattered. By the year 1999, Grant's talent had blossomed quickly. He was soon promoted to chief model maker at Galaxy Quest. In only 3 short years after he started working for ILM, he now led one of its biggest projects in model making. The scientist used circuit boards to recreate the NEA Protector spaceship's light systems, which produced authentic shimmering effects. This scientist's background in engineering at last combined with his dreams in cinematic effects. Not to mention, he alone knew how to merge the two. This scientist, Grant, wasn't even satisfied with what he had already accomplished. On his own, he worked on a design for a robot called Dead Blow to fight in BattleBots on Comedy Central Television. The robot battled in 17 matches with 10 victories. That small robot led him to develop his own models into more models, a following that wrote a book called Kick and Bot, released in 2003. This scientist knew how to take his accomplishments from behind closed doors. But Grant, the scientist, did not plan on making a lasting impact only within the realm of filmmaking, programming, or robotics. In the year 2008, he worked on a brand new project, restoring freshness to one of the most iconic brand characters in history, Energizer's Bunny. The brand's product exhibited a lackluster use of animatronic characters. Grant corrected that entirely on his own. In full force, he produced his own animatronic designs from scratch. This entailed designing his own circuit boards, complete with his own 8-bit chips, as well as radio controls. The bunnies could now turn on, turn off, wave arms, and even turn drumsticks on demand. The bunnies even held 44 AA batteries inside merely to make sure that when Energizer said keeps going, it really did. Because inside they really did. Not only did Grant design the systems on these bunnies, but he personally operated these bunnies himself during video shoots. It wasn't merely a stellar application of science on his part. This aimed to show that he, the scientist, had skills useful for adapting to any part of the entertainment industry. Take blockbuster movies, television robot fights, even battery advertising. This scientist aimed to bring precision, creativity, and accuracy. Not merely a master of models anymore. He aimed to make things better, to find solutions, to make lives easier. In the year 2005, a change came for MythBusters. The build team had to say goodbye to one of their own, Scotty Chapman, but they gained something far more incredible. Grant Imahara. He wasn't a replacement, he's a game changer, said Grant Imahara's colleagues. Grant brought his quick mind, his electrical engineering degree from USC, and his experience at Lucasfilm's Industrial Light and Magic to the set. He wasn't a newcomer to our team, though, said Adam Savage. He'd worked with us and with Tori Belly before, and he'd met Jamie Heeman in the BattleBot scene, continued Adam. He's a part of a community that's passionate, talented, and dedicated to innovation, added another colleague. Adam once said, "There's been tons of people who are talented engineers, but Grant is the only one of us who actually has a degree in what we were doing, and it really showed. It instantly improved our game." For over 9 years, with more than 200 episodes, Grant Imahara is remembered as the geek of the build team. Not a bad thing, mind you, but a proud trait. The geek brought a missing element to Kay's artistry, Tori's builds, but his geekiness made him a necessary component of a trio that worked with logic, art, and technique so flawlessly that chemistry happened, making them a perfect blend. Grant Imahara, though, is more than brain power, math, and science.